So a warm welcome to members of the AU manufacturing community, and thank you for tuning in for this campaign launch event. As the video's title will have told you, we are launching our Australia's 50 Most Innovative Manufacturers campaign, or the 50 Most Innovative in its shorthand form. Just like last time around, we're seeking to identify and celebrate the country's most innovative manufacturers, learn about how they understand and go about innovating, and hopefully pick up some lessons we can use along the way. We're concerned with successful implementation rather than just dreaming up new technology for its own sake. There are many ways to understand innovation, but one of the popular and elegant definition is change that creates value, and that's one we like. Along the way, we'll be looking at how companies knew what needed changing, how they came to that conclusion, how they acted, and how this created value as a result. This time around, we're going with the theme, It's for Everybody, because innovation is many things, among them a tool by which we progress and do better tomorrow than we did today, whether that's through improved products or processes or something else. And that's something every manufacturer observes. It's for everybody, regardless of the perceived complexity of their products or operations or their scale. In a few minutes, we'll hear from two highly innovative companies, both of which make very different things, both with a very different set of customers, but both laser focused on solving customer problems in a way that's novel, therefore innovative. As with last time around, the 50 Most Innovative is open to manufacturers of all sorts, and it's completely free to enter. We saw 76 nominations last time around, and we're hopeful that this time will vastly outstrip that. Our campaign has been made possible thanks to the generous support of our sponsors. Our returning lead sponsor is MYOB, who you'll hear from next. We thank them for their faith in the value of what we're doing. We'll be announcing other sponsors in the next few weeks. For now, I'd like to throw to Bruce Minty, Senior Product Manager at lead sponsor MYOB. Welcome, Bruce.
Thank you very much, Brent. Yeah, good morning, everyone. I guess I'll just start off on a little bit about MYOB. We've been providing technology to businesses in Australia and New Zealand for more than 30 years now. Having grown from its status as the original Australian unicorn, which is the first Australian tech business to crack 100 million in revenue, to now employing approximately 2,000 people across Australia and New Zealand, based out of 9 locations in the region. And having started life in accounting software, MYOB's pretty much undergone a significant step towards becoming a cloud-based business management platform. So, whilst we're really focused on delivering our platform for mid-market manufacturers in Australia and New Zealand, we're also very much looking ahead at what are the biggest changes that will reshape this industry. And so we surveyed over 300 manufacturing decision makers, and they told us that the top 3 changes they believe will shape the industry over the next 5 years. And just over 50% say that we'll see more automation of business processes and workflows. Along with this, 43% see more competition in the sector. That's partly due to government grants, but potentially more manufacturing coming back to Australia due to global supply chain disruptions. And finally, 42% believe that there'll be more acquisitions or vertical integration, where larger manufacturers acquire businesses to take ownership and control over their value chain, resulting in a more diverse business model. So, these are some of the key factors that our respondents see as the biggest drivers of change in our industry. So to help our customers, we've set out a plan to deliver, best-in-class Industry 4.0 and 5.0 technologies that leverage the power of our platform. Because over the past 5 years, some manufacturers across Australia and New Zealand have started, pulling ahead and implementing Industry 4.0 solutions across their operations. And we see that these manufacturers are now realizing significant value from using sophisticated analytics, automation, and AI, with digitally advanced SMEs, 50% more likely to grow their revenue and 60% more revenue per employee. They're also eight times more likely to be creating jobs and 14 times more likely to be offering new products or services to their customers. And obviously, importantly, digitally advanced SMEs are 7 times more likely to scale. And so the digitally enabled factory of today looks very different from the leading factory of 10 years ago. And advances in tech mean manufacturers can choose from hundreds and potentially thousands of solutions that are out there. And so it's a very exciting time for the industry.
Thank you, Bruce. So next up, we'll be hearing from the leaders of the two companies I mentioned earlier. They impressed the judges last time around, and they are ANCA and Wireman. ANCA will be familiar to many viewers. They're Australia's only tool and cutter grinder company, export 99% of what they make, and have contributed to a long list of world firsts in their industry. They employ about 1,300 worldwide at the last time I checked, but the really important stuff they do is at their headquarters in Bayswater North. Also, they'll be celebrating their 50th anniversary next year. Our second panel guest is from Wireman, which was established 5 years ago after a conversation between a longtime industrial designer and his patent attorney about fence repair on the attorney's hobby farm. Wireman is selling its wire grippers overseas and has many other products in the market and in development. It's going to be much more enlightening to have each of them explain what they do rather than me have a crack at it. So I'd like to first up introduce, for that purpose, Martin Ripple, CEO of ANCA, to tell their story.
Yeah, good morning, Brent. Good morning to your viewers, and thank you for the invite. We really appreciate it. Yeah, as you said, ANCA is a world leader in precision grinding machines. Our customers, we have roughly 2,500 around the world, produce tools and cutters on our machines. That could be drills for all sorts of things, all the way down to aerospace, automotive, and even dental. It could be end mills, it could be rasps. The opportunities and possibilities are endless of what you can produce on our machines. We're pretty proud to be very vertically integrated in the industry, meaning we built the machine from the ground up ourselves here in beautiful Bayswater in Victoria, including a motion control system that has a nanometer resolution. Customers, as I said, 2,500 range from SpaceX to NASA to Audi in Germany and Volkswagen, Mercedes and the like. I think there's hardly any company out there that doesn't use directly or indirectly tools made on ANCA machines. As you said, we were founded 50 years ago, export the large majority of our products into the world market. And we'll talk about it a little bit later, but we really consider innovation our secret sauce. And that's why our two founders and the management team is absolutely driven to lead the market through innovation. That's it for me.
Fantastic. Thank you, Martin. And over to you, Ian.
All right. Look, Wireman was a company that was formed basically we produce products and to make fencing faster and easier for the fencing contractor and more effective and affordable for the farmer, essentially. And we started, as you mentioned, about 6 years ago, 5-6 years ago. And it's just been a question of developing products over that time that respond to what the market desires. And at first I came into it with really very little knowledge at all about the industry. But then, of course, it was explained to me that fencing is essentially one of the largest pieces of private infrastructure in the country. And from there, obviously, we set about really addressing some of the things that where we could make an impact. And with most of it's fairly sort of low tech stuff, I suppose. But because the industry hasn't been looked at for a long period of time, there's places for innovation. And a lot of that really essentially is about making sure that we've got tools and products that can be made quickly and easily and cost effectively that do what they say they're going to do. And most of what we do is about essentially removing processes. And in terms of innovation, it's absolutely critical to us because without that, we just can't afford to. We just couldn't afford to actually compete on the market with, for instance, Chinese steel or foreign goods. There's just no way. So we've got to innovate. It's what we do. It's what we're about. And as I say, everything that we do, if we can't innovate, if we can't produce something that's better than what's out there, there's no point in us really existing, essentially.
Fantastic. Thanks, Ian. So let's get into the discussion part of this presentation. And let's start with, well, I guess it's not a debate, but you start a debate with the definition of terms. Let's look at the term innovation. What does that mean to you two guys? How do you understand it at your company?
Look, for us, innovation is a technological progress that I think is unique to human societies. When you look at the history of humanity, you see that technology has typically solved problems of human societies, and we believe it will continue to solve problems going forward. And so, for us, innovation first and foremost is nothing else but technological progress put into action, so to speak. We consider that the speed of innovation is picking up. I think in our lifetimes, we can all witness that, especially the last 20, 25 years, since PCs have become commonplace, we're now looking at AI. The speed is really, really picking up. And so for us, innovation is driving our products through innovative features forward, solving customer problems with new solutions to the market, and staying ahead of the competition.
Fantastic. Ian?
Look, innovation. It's funny, I've had this discussion many times with different people, and essentially how you define innovation is where it becomes a philosophical sort of discussion pretty quickly. But what I would say is that essentially, if you fall back on the way that WIPO, or the World Intellectual Property Organization, defines it, it's essentially a product that has a use. It's a useful product that's novel, and often you can get into this discussion about what's novel, right? But it has to be useful, it has to be novel, and it has to have a commercial application, essentially. But look, with all that said, you've got to come to the market and bring things that people find useful and are useful to people. And it can't be innovation for the sake of it. There's no point in solving problems that no one has, or problems that don't exist. So really, it's about looking really hard, and then taking it to market, talking to people, getting an idea of what they actually need, what is useful, especially in the farming business. A lot of people with good ideas, lots of people always coming along, and I suppose the market they've tried so much, so much has been done, so many things have been tried that people are not really ready to accept innovation in a lot of ways. But on the other hand, when something works, you've got to go that direction. And that is basically the sort of, it's also what comes down to what you're capable of doing, where you're at, what your company's capable of, bringing to market. And that's basically how I define it from our perspective.
So those are some of the things that innovation is. What are some things that enable it? Let's throw to Martin now. Obviously, ANCA is a very engineering-heavy company. I'm guessing a supply of good engineering graduates, among other things, is pretty important for what you do.
Yeah, so I guess, look, when I think of innovation, I think of two categories. The one is what I call continuous innovation, and the other one is disruptive innovation. Continuous, a good example would be you have a certain process step in making a tool that takes you 16 seconds, and you bring that down to 14 seconds, over a period of time with trying to optimize bit by bit by bit. And for the continuous innovation, we believe skilled engineers, skilled graduates, good apprentices are absolutely crucial. And I think that's where Australia, but also many other civil societies at the moment suffer a fair bit. The supply of skilled engineering graduates and skilled engineers is getting harder or tighter and tighter. And secondly, for the continuous innovation, we believe you've got an internal kind of passion for continuous improvement, a culture of wanting to improve. Right? So standing still is falling behind. So those two elements of skilled, educated technicians, engineers, apprentices, but secondly, also a company culture that embraces the subject of making it better is critical for the continuous innovation. When it comes to the disruptive part, I think it's the ambitious leadership that kind of sets the tone. You've got to point the direction and then apply some entrepreneurial skills, some risk taking to say, yep, we haven't done this before. We want to bring this down from 16 seconds to 2 seconds, right? It's something that is disruptive. And we'll talk about an example that ANCA brought to the market last year called AIMS, AIMS, a little bit later. But it was really around disrupting the industry to a certain extent, and bringing that type of innovation to the market needs more than just skilled engineers. I believe it needs that leadership jump into the unknown future, the willingness to take risks, and to push forward, driving through that entrepreneurial passion and the will to succeed, I guess.
Right. So let's sort of get onto something more concrete than what we've looked at before. You mentioned AIMS. Let's look at two of the projects that were highlighted as case studies as part of your application for the campaign last year. Ian, let's go to you and hear about Jack the Gripper. And after that, we can hear further from Martin about AIMS.
Well, look, it's funny. Look, listening to Martin, I think firstly we'd have to look at using some of the machines from ANCA probably. But look,
a special discount, Ian.
Yeah. But definitely, look, from our perspective, I mean, what we've been doing is it's a lot of it is it's very basic stuff, but as I've said to you before, Brent, it's particularly basic stuff. But having said that, often there are places to do things. There are small changes that can have a big impact. There's just no doubt about it. And the question is looking for that thing, looking for that way that you can make that change. That you can do something that's going to it's going to separate you from the market. Often the change does not need to be massive. It doesn't have to be huge. And in fact, sometimes a really whopping change can be a problem because, you've got to educate the market as to what it is you've done, how this change, why the change is important. Whereas if the change is small, it's very easily understood. It's easily absorbed. And so your resistance, your path to market is quicker. And as I say, you've got less of the education problem, which essentially is advertising. You're paying to put yourself out there, and really, which is fine. You've got to do that, but let's face it. Any way that you can reduce your exposure, somebody telling someone else, "I've got it, I want it. It's useful. It helps me. It does this for me." That's what you want. You're chasing that every day. And the thing is that in terms of innovation, you've got to be ready to change. You've got to be ready to step up. You've got to be looking for angles. You just have to be. You have to be doing it all day. And but again, each step forward, you've got to be thinking carefully about what you're doing. How you're doing it, because often. I see people who design things and they make things and often really haven't thought through about the vertical. They haven't thought about every little aspect of it, what's going to happen. And often you can build things into a design. You don't even realize how that's going to impact the end result to the end user, because there could be 3 or 4 people who are using that product down the line who where it's going to cost them to use it. There's going to be costs involved in them using that product that you're not aware of, you haven't thought about. And, it's only until you stick something into the market that you really find out. And but that's the beauty. When you get the feedback and it starts coming back at you, then you go, oh, okay. And then you can really start to see where things are going. And then you have to be ready to adapt again and change. And that's where the risk can come in, because suddenly you've got, you're having to adapt to the market and change what you're doing, change the equipment that you've got, the processes you've got, the things in place, which is all expensive. And but that's where you start making the real gains, and the customers notice that you're listening to them, you're responding to them, and that you're listening to their concerns and what's happening, and that gives you a dialogue with them, and allows you to move on. It's very good brand awareness and the identity of who you are.
AIMS and some of the market signals that informed its development, and anything else that's worth sharing for the purposes of this discussion.
Well, absolutely right. So about 4 years ago, a company decided to launch itself into AIMS, stands for ANCA, Integrated Manufacturing System. And it's the first integrated manufacturing system in our industry, so for the tool and cutter grinders. Most importantly, we designed the system so it's agnostic, meaning it's a manufacturing system that connects various machines from various manufacturers, so including our competitors, simply because we found that customers had a whole range of grinding machines on the shop floor, and we didn't want to walk in there saying you gotta buy from us, and you gotta basically walk down the path of locking yourself in the corner. So the system is designed agnostically to connect various machines of various makers, measurement machines, etc., etc. The ultimate objective of AIMS is to have a lights-out operation. We have recently achieved 66 hours of continuous operation with the lights out, meaning there's no humans in the entire factory. And so you can imagine the factory owner walking in on a Monday morning after the machines have been producing throughout the weekend, and how much happiness that creates for the factory owner. It also increases productivity to an incredible level. We didn't believe the numbers originally, but recent McKinsey study has predicted that we could look at something like 150% plus productivity gains, because you can now run the machines literally day and night and over the weekend. When we used to have customers to 2-3 machines, we now have customers with 25, 50 or more machines on the shop floor, connected to AIMS. And so an incredible jump for us and also for our customers, of course, coming with challenges, technical challenges, some complexities. But overall, we're very, very optimistic of what AIMS can bring to our customers, and then, of course, also to ANCA as a consequence.
Right. So you mentioned, Ron, earlier the pace that's required to innovate nowadays, and you see it in all aspects of modern life. Things are speeding up. It's unavoidable. Tell me about some of the impacts on product development, shortening cycles, having to get things done yesterday, et cetera, from your point of view, please.
Well, I guess like everybody else, we get more frequent demands for more innovation. We We address it through a number of means. I guess the latest and greatest is AI. We're using quite extensively AI tools across the business. For example, for software development, there's a great number of tools out there. Not since yesterday when ChatGPT kind of hit the market, but before then. But we do believe that especially next year, when a lot of software platforms, probably led by Microsoft and other big ones, will integrate AI in a lot of their tools. And so not to be underestimated how much help and effectiveness you can gain from software development to marketing, to communication, to competitive analysis. There are wonderful tools out there. And so, we're trying to keep pace with the speed of innovation through the use of tools, but also through encouraging our teams to get products with innovation to the market as quickly as practically possible. Simply for us, coming from Bayswater, Australia into the world, the first question that the founders had to answer 50 years ago was, why would I buy a machine from Australia? You're 16,000 kilometers away. How do I get a hotline if something goes wrong? I need this machine to produce. If it doesn't produce, I've got a financial impact pretty much immediately. And so the only way we could do that was through bringing, real differentiated productive machines, innovative machines to the market, which we've done and we continue to do. But we can see those cycles shortening. And so we are using a lot of tools and a lot of passion for innovation in our business to keep pace with those cycles.
Right. Let's turn to simplicity. Ian, you mentioned earlier the importance of that. And I know you're very big on, you say up front that what you make is a simple product. And I think that's great. If you can still make a simple product in Australia, that's often a very challenging thing to do, be it a widget or a bit of injection molded material, whatever, but you manage to make simple products that serve a need. Tell me about your philosophy with simplicity, taking process steps out, making things, just distilled down to their bare elements. Your thoughts, please.
Well, it's just interesting actually to listen to Martin talk, because everything that he says, for me, it's gold, But on the other side, for me, using the people that I use, companies in a sort of similar boat, I suppose, of a way to Martin's company, it offers me all sorts of opportunities. It just really does, and I think that you've got to be looking for that. And also, it's very easy to look past. As I say, everyone's looking for a tech solution. Often, the full you don't need the full tech solution. There can be ways, there are opportunities to do things differently that offer benefits. Now, it does open you up in certain ways. If it's easy to do, other people can do it, and so therefore there's risks associated with that. People can come along and have a go, but other companies, so there's commercial risk, I suppose, associated with that. But having said that, I often see in quite a few places absolute simplicity, distilling something right down, because it's about saving. It's about saving cash. It's about saving time. A lot of what we do is about saving time for the customer. It's not really we have a product which is quite expensive, but they're saving time. So it has value to them, because as I say, we're 5 times more expensive than anyone else in the market in some of the products. But of course, it's 5 times quicker for the customer as well. So when you're tired and you've had enough at the end of the day and you're working, you just want it to be quick. You want to get it done. And there's those sorts of, they're the places that you can look at. So innovation can be all sorts of different things, can be high tech, but there's also opportunities if you look at low tech solutions. And then, of course, it's about looking at companies that produce equipment that make your job easier so that you can make it cheaper and better and with less risk.
So one of the key themes that came through among some of the high-performing innovators was the importance of collaboration. And obviously, it's a topic that gets examined a lot, that gets talked about a lot, often unnecessarily, but it's going to be important, I think, forever. And if you're a manufacturer and you're just hoping to do everything on your own, you're probably not going to do a very good job of it. Tell me about the importance of your ecosystem of suppliers within Australia, how they help you innovate, their role, various stages of innovation. You guys, please have a crack at that question.
Collaboration and the people, it often amazes me, the people I go to see, people I deal with. You can't try to get too roped up in trying to be good at everything. There's just no way. You've got to collaborate with others. You've got to bring other people in and use the people who are doing what they're doing well. It's just as simple as that. If they're doing it really well, start using them. Make use of what they do, and because often you're trying to do it yourself, you can't afford to own the gear. It might not be. There's risk associated with actually putting all the cash into the tooling, and going to see people and talking to people, you just learn so much. There's so many times I go and see a supplier or something, and I have a discussion, and there's little things that these, as I say, little changes that are made often that are just sensational, great little things that are done, and it's really pivotal, brings the cost down, makes things work, and not only that, and genuinely helping. It's not just about the bucks, but I mean, obviously that's where it comes to, but that's in a lot of times what really makes my day, no doubt about it.
Yeah, we're absolutely the same. Just as Ian says, we think that suppliers, but as well customers with challenging feedback are ultimately your friend and help you become better. We would actually like to see more suppliers out of the Australian market helping us here. Unfortunately, to a certain extent, we've got suppliers overseas. And we do lots of the vertical integration ourselves, simply because we couldn't find the suppliers here. I mean, our biggest competitors, both European, the two I'm thinking of, have their supplier base within 20 kilometers around their facility. Ours is more like 20,000 kilometers around our facility, which is the additional cost to the business. So, we absolutely appreciate suppliers, exactly like Ian said. If you can find somebody who does something well and is passionate about it, why would you do it yourself? But I guess overall, we'd like to see more Australian suppliers playing at that top level.
So as I mentioned earlier, we're looking at innovation of all kinds, and a thing I'm curious about is the innovation within marketing, because if you're savvy nowadays, you can reach a lot of people without very many resources. And Ian, I think you've done a decent job with marketing, and I always see your ads come up on Facebook, even if I didn't ask to. And that's probably the story for a lot of people. So good to you. Tell me about the importance of innovation in marketing and how you go about that.
Well, look, I mean, I think that these days, a lot of it is just you've got to get out there and learn different ways. The way in which people respond to things evolves all the time, and it's these days. A lot of the marketing that you're doing, brand is really important, and putting something in front of people that they want, that they're interested in, and can use, and making sure that you're not wasting cash doing it. That is, it's just a challenge. It's always been a challenge, and but having said that, with one of the great things these days, the internet has opened things up massively. It just the kind of things that I'm doing coming to the market, it's way it's an absolute revolution. There's just no doubt about it. And but you've still got to think about the people. I think there's a lot of talk at the moment, obviously, about AI and all this sort of thing, and completely understand it. But on the other side, you're still talking to a person who's going to buy that thing at the moment, and you've got to communicate to that person. You've got to be relevant to them. You've got to understand basically what they're trying to do, what they want to do, and it's communicating that issue and finding a way to actually present yourself or get through. And I think that, as I say, there's a few different platforms, but ultimately, you sort of search YouTube's, TikToks, however you want to do it. They all have their place, and it's a question of cutting through and getting to that place.
So let's turn to the importance of ambitious leadership in identifying and committing to projects, because there's always risk involved, and you need to commit, and you don't always win. So, and a second part of the question would be: is there a shortage of ambition in Australia when taking on hard challenges to do innovation?
It's a good question. I don't know the answer. Look, I think ambitious leadership is really, really important to drive innovation forward. I believe it's the essence of entrepreneurs to balance out risk and rewards, to make good judgment calls along the way. And I think the main reason for me why the large part of innovation in most countries comes out of the SME base, the small and medium-sized enterprises, because that's where the real entrepreneurs are. I often am confounded when I see, the large corporates who claim to drive innovation, but usually they buy the innovation through the acquisition of smaller companies and then integrate them. I think the ambitious leadership, the most ambitious leadership that I've seen, is usually in the small and medium-sized enterprises, where you've got true hardcore entrepreneurs wanting to succeed, accepting risks, giving it their all, basically, to be successful ultimately for the company, and delivering something to customer or value, as Ian said before. So is there a lack of ambitious leadership? I don't know, but I suspect that there could be more. I think we've got to encourage, young leaders to be bold, to be ambitious, to be daring, to lean forward and push forward. I guess there's nothing wrong with saying, yeah, we could need more. I'm not sure whether there's nowadays less than there was in the past, but certainly more would be great.
Sure. And so it's kind of related, but do either of you have any observations on naysayers? I'm sure you've had people saying what you're doing is perhaps I wouldn't say doomed to failure, but sometimes you get people who doubt the worth of what you're doing. It's just a part of life. What's your point of view on just sticking to your knitting and ignoring people with harsh criticisms in innovation?
I might I'll carry on and I'll follow on a little bit from what Martin said. Just briefly, essentially risk is the appetite for risk. I mean, why, on one level, why do anything risky? No, you don't want to take risks. I mean, you want to do things, why do you want to do that? But on the other side, not taking any risks can be very risky. And it's a risky strategy. So you've got to do that. Typically in Australia, there hasn't been an appetite, not full risk, as there is in other countries, the US, for example. But look, I think on a positive note, we can stand and we can sort of bat on about why it's not there and I could talk all day about that. But what I would say is that there is opportunities here. There's real opportunities that there never was before, and the internet has brought that here. There's skill pools here that can be used. This is in Australia, and we should. There's opportunities, and the tyranny of distance is not what it was just through the internet and marketing. So we should, we should be pushing it at all costs. It should be looked at and thought about in that from that respect. One should be positive about it.
If I can just throw in there, Brent, I think there's two different types of naysayers for me. There are the professional naysayers. In French, they call them alarmiste, which is raising the alarm and always saying, this is going to fail, this is going to fail. With the, upside, I guess, if it fails, you can say, well, I told you so. If it doesn't fail, you can say, well, I warned everybody, so we've avoided the worst, and it didn't fail, right? So the professional naysayers, I tend to ignore, to be honest. But I think there is a value in, critique or critiquing and making or pushing the team harder to make the solution better, making the product better, making the innovation better. And so I think you've got to differentiate between those who are continuously on the it's never going to work and those who raise critical concerns, and I think you can take any subject in the public domain, think of the energy transition, or think of whatever other subject we could come up with. I think you'll find always those people who will say, well, it's never going to work ever. And I say, well, that can't be. But some people have some valid points that I think have to be taken into account. So it's up to, I guess, your experience to differentiate between the one and the others.
Just one thing I would say, look, in terms of naysayers, as Martin sort of said, you've got to listen to people, and some people are full of it. They're going to tell you all sorts of things. It's never going to do. It's never going to work. You've got to back yourself. You've got to believe if it's an issue worth pursuing, then you've got to pursue it. End of story. But having said that, if it turns and you can realise that you're just banging your head against a wall, well, then naturally you're going to have to stop. But no, these days there's always people who are going to say no, and it's a question of turning those people around. And I've, especially with what we've done, people's usually their knee-jerk reaction, especially out in the bush, people will be very quick. There's no, do you want this? No. End of story. But then if you show them how something works, it can turn around, and it's then that word of mouth, other people telling other people about it. That's what you're chasing. That's what you're after. And if you truly believe in the product and it does do the job that you're setting out to make it do, then you just got to back yourself. You can't listen to that to idle sort of chatter.
Right, and so this is very nearly the end of the conversation, which I very much enjoyed. I'll close by asking both of you for some final comments of your choosing, and we'll say goodbye.
Look, I guess what I'd like to see in Australia is manufacturing becoming a more focus in the public debate, in the policy debate. I think we see a lot of promises, but some of which, at least in my perception, are empty promises. We had in the industry portfolio, I think, 10 ministers in a handful of years. That is not conducive to stable policy settings, forward-looking, intelligent regulation. I think throughout COVID, we've all realized that sovereign capabilities and manufacturing as a capability in the country is important. And so when I look at where we stand as a country today, Economic Complexity Index, ECI, some people might be familiar with, Australia is currently 92 in the world ranking. That's between Pakistan and Nigeria. I think that's straight up embarrassing, to be honest. And something has to be done. Now, of course, there's no quick fixes, and I know it's from education to policy settings to support. There's a lot of things that they'll have to fall into place, and so it's not a quick win for politics, which probably makes this a more challenging subject, which I appreciate and understand. But manufacturing output has dropped down to 6.5% of GDP from 19 not many years ago, and so I'd like to see a lot more focus on manufacturing across society. I think it's crucial for the future of Australia, and if whatever can be done, I think we've got to focus on manufacturing in the country.
Thanks, Martin. And Ian, your thoughts?
I would back up what Martin's just said 100%. Absolutely back that all the way. And the point is that I think people are far too focused in this country on basically housing, and you need to produce things in this world. You needed to do it 1,000 years ago, and you need to do it now. You need to make things. You need to be able to sell things. You have things to trade. It's a lot of people making things is. As I say, it gives you all sorts of. It's a tremendous economy to be outside of that. Waiting, as I say, a house. You can't eat your house, and your house keeps the rains off you. Or should I say the house keeps your rain off the back of your head. But apart from that, and I know it's nice to be in a nice house, no doubt whatsoever. But you can't eat it. We've got to be able to produce things in this country, and we should be doing far more about that. Absolutely.
Right. Ian and Martin, thanks very much for taking the time. Great to catch up with you both. And thanks for sharing your thoughts on this conversation for our campaign launch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Bye.
Great. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Bruce, welcome to the conversation. What did you think of that?
Look, it was just wonderful to be part of today's webinar and discussion. Hearing from two experienced leaders in industry. Such a valuable, insightful discussion it was. But I guess just a few points I just wanted to reiterate. Especially around Martin's comments on innovation, that he sees that innovation is their secret sauce, and defined that as technological progress, which is all about solving problems for humans. I thought that was a fantastic piece of commentary. And I also found Ian's comments really insightful too. Where utilizing innovation to help remove processes within their business, and he mentioned about making their products more useful and novel. He also spoke about the importance of collaboration, both Martin and Ian, of course, but they spoke of the importance of also having that learning opportunity that comes out of collaboration with suppliers and customers, and also the point that he made about looking for angles, but remaining focused on the vertical that you serve, but always, being aware of the hidden costs incurred by your customers when using your products. And, ultimately, innovation should be about, saving time for the customer, which is of utmost importance. So, yeah, really insightful comments.
And did any of the comments there about the entrepreneurial spirit in Australia, risk-taking, or anything else jump out at you?
Yeah, look, especially Martin's comments again around two distinct types of innovation. One being around continuous improvement, which is very much about process step improvement, especially within their organization, and the other one being around disruptive innovation, which does obviously require ambitious leadership, willingness to take risks, and the will to succeed as well. And that many real entrepreneurs, as you mentioned, are in that SME space, where we actually see those true hardcore entrepreneurs wanting to succeed, and also made the point that young leaders need to be bold. I thought that was a really, really great statement.
On the speed of innovation, pardon me, on the speed of innovation and its pace just being ever increasing, how is that looking among your customers? What do they have to say to you about the topic, or about that topic, if anything?
Yeah, look, I mean, the speed of innovation, I guess, when we talk about innovation within our world in digital technology, it's about, finding that practical application, especially for AI and ML technologies and so on that we're seeing emerging. Our customers look for ways of deploying innovation across their operations constantly. We're seeing it within the manufacturing sector, especially around predictive maintenance, improving product and service qualities, things right down to production yield advisory, capacity planning, and those types of aspects across their businesses. So they're constantly striving to deploy these. When we're talking about a platform such as MYOB Advanced, we're talking about a whole of business application. So, where can we deploy, technologies and innovation across CRM, across financials, across distribution aspects of businesses? So, so it's a very far and wide-reaching application of technology that we're addressing today.
Well, I believe that's all time permits us to discuss. So thank you very much for joining us, Bruce. A pleasure to see you on this webinar, and we'll talk again soon.
Absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you very much, Brent. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
So that's pretty much it from us. I'm happy to declare nominations now open for the second iteration of the 50 Most Innovative. You can find a nomination form at aumanufacturing.com.au. Thanks very much for listening, and be sure to follow our website and join our LinkedIn community so you can read a heap of profiles of innovators who have put themselves forward. Follow our AU Manufacturing company page and join the Australian Manufacturing Forum LinkedIn group if you haven't already. We'll be having a breakfast event to unveil the top 50 when we're all done with the judging on April 18, the second day of Australian Manufacturing Week 2024 in Sydney. Again, stay tuned for more information on that. That's it from me. See you next time.